What is going on, Replo fam? It's Sanjay. We are with Liam Millward, the CEO and co-founder from Down Under of Instant. And Instant is an identity resolution tool. It's probably like a very basic way to kind of say what it is. We're going to get into all of the great stuff that they do. But first, Liam, thank you so much for joining me on the Replo podcast. Really stoked to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Excited. I feel like this is a long time coming, like we said just before
Yes.
recording. I mean, followed Replo for such a long time now, and in Australia at the moment, spend like 50% of my time between Sydney and New York. But yeah, keen to be on.
Love it, man. And we're going to talk about, some like the U.S. Australia dynamics, both from growing your business specifically, but also how we serve our customers. But let's just go very, very basic foundational stuff. Tell us about the business that you run today, and we'll get to how you got here. But I want people to understand very quickly, like what is it that you do right now?
For sure. So one of the founders of Instant, we started the company around 3 years ago now, out of a university assignment when I was 17. Me and my co-founder Will, we started building our first product, which was very similar to something like ShopPay today, and it was called Instant Checkout. And we built that product. And basically what we did was we remembered your shoppers every single time they came back to your website, giving them a one-click checkout experience. And we built the core technology that enables us to remember these shoppers every single time they visited or landed on your site. And we grew that product to like $1 million of revenue in around 6 months. We'd raised about $3 million of venture capital. And we got to December of 2023, and we thought, wow, two things. This is this huge opportunity to bring this technology into the marketing team, and two, we want to work with more and more e-commerce brands. So we launched our second product called Instant Audiences, and what Audiences does is bring your anonymous or lost shoppers back to convert after they land on your website. 98% of your website traffic is completely anonymous. You have absolutely no idea who they are. And then further to that, you have no way to identify them or source an email address for them, meaning you've spent all this money on Meta or Facebook ads, bringing them to your website. They land on your website, they show some type of high engagement or intent, and then they leave and you're unable to bring them back. And so what Instant does is help a marketing manager retarget these lost shoppers and bring them back to your website to convert after they've left your website. And, we launched that product around a year and a half ago now. Now Audiences is live on like 600 or 700 e-commerce brand websites. US is now our fastest growing region, spend so much time there now. And I guess today we're really focused on, and are keen to jump into this a little more, like we're very focused on becoming a marketing manager's best friend. Bringing their ordinarily lost shoppers back to convert, enabling them to send more emails to these shoppers, and seeing the revenue benefit as a result.
There's so many different layers to unpack here, so many different places to start. One of the things that I want to reiterate to the audience, in case you missed it, is that you started this 3 years ago when you were around 17 years old. So you're about 21 years old right now. Did I get this right? I think you're 21 now.
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
You're so much further ahead than 99% of people. I think I love the fact that you did build a one-click checkout, and the core technology ended up being what powers your Audiences tool. Around that time, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of these like one-click checkout companies. So in your university class, was the thesis, hey, this is like a wave that's happening. These types of companies are getting funding. We're going to go try to do this. Is that like, was that the impetus for creating that checkout product?
Maybe a little deeper than that. Our lecturer, it was one of my marketing assignments. I'd finished year 12 or high school here in Australia, when I was about 16. And then I went to uni and studied, business and marketing. And one of my marketing assignments was looking into the recent growth of e-commerce towards the middle of COVID. And our lecturer, she made us start a Shopify store, drop shipping products from China, advertising them on Facebook ads, and see if we could use like our newfound marketing skills to generate some revenue. And I chose to do pet beds, pet products, and everyone was buying dogs and cats in COVID. So this store went from doing no revenue to, making some cash pretty quickly. But then I realized majority, and this was kind of, Shop Pay wasn't really a thing, Apple Pay wasn't really a thing. This was at the start of COVID, and obviously online shopping just exploded during this period. And I realized that I was spending so much money in Facebook ads for people to come to my website, and majority of them wouldn't convert at the point that they needed to fill out their personal information. And so I thought, well, why don't we just remember these shoppers everywhere they go across the internet, so they can have a better experience every single time, one. But two, the merchant actually increases their revenue by increasing their conversion. And so then we built that first product. And, we had some pretty insane competitors in the market. But, they're obviously all out of business today. And, with some huge juggernauts coming in, you're never going to win against Apple Pay. But I'm really glad that we built that initial technology that enables us to remember these shoppers, because now brands get even more benefit out of that, particularly with audiences and the email marketing products that we have on offer today.
And was is your co-founder the technical element of this? Is this something that were you coding this yourself? Like, how did you guys, pre ChatGPT being able to spit out like vibe coding stuff, like put the technology to this together? It's like actually like relatively novel technology.
Yeah, I wasn't the technical side. I remember coming up with the idea and I was like, fuck, how am I going to build it? And I reached out to hundreds of software engineers on LinkedIn, offering them a job. I was 17 and nobody responded to me. Hundreds of software engineers. And one day I got a random response from one of these people I'd reached out to, Will. He was in Sydney. I was up in Brisbane in Australia, which is about an hour and a half flight in between. Kind of similar distance to like San Francisco and LA, for example. I flew to Sydney. We met right by the Sydney Opera House. And Will was the only software engineer out of hundreds to get back to me. And we started building the company together, and we're still working together today. So it was basically just through a LinkedIn message that we randomly met.
That's awesome. That is, if anyone ever needs like a persistence reminder that persistence always wins, that is a great one. And I'm sure there's a great bit of serendipity in there. But that's actually a pretty beautiful story. I I have so many kind of questions that we can kind of pull out, but I want to fast forward a little bit. You started this product, the checkout product, and I mean, presumably you're dog fooding this. You're using it on your own drop shipping store, and then how did you get the distribution initially? Like, what were you doing to like get the checkout product kind of scaled out initially?
Initially, I would say it was very founder-led sales. Um, we tried the whole marketing machine and big outbound sales and etc. And I think at the end of the day, it just came back to, particularly when we're just getting the product off the ground, was just building relationships directly with these potential customers. And we had some occasions where we'd think, this CEO that we were speaking to had one e-commerce store. And it's generally, if they have one e-commerce store, they've got another 10. And we just started to grow, quickly by attending events and emails and reaching out to them on LinkedIn. And then as you got, your first batch of customers and they saw great results, then you would, one, produce case studies. And case studies are such a powerful thing. And two, they would just word of mouth started to become very, very elite for us. But I think that we've always let our product speak for itself in terms of the results. I mean, instant audiences, I would say we grew that product from $0 to $7 million of ARR and hundreds of brands benefiting from the results of it in, I think, 10 or 11 months last year. We built the product in 6 weeks. We grew it to $7 million in 11 months, and we ended the year at 7 million ARR. And that was an incredible story because we invested heavily in outbound sales and marketing, getting the product out there. But the biggest investment was really just case studies and letting the product and our customers speak for itself, really. I would say has been the biggest unlock for growth amongst all of our
Okay.
products that we have today.
That's crazy. If anything, that reminds me just how important, it is for us to generate case studies and make sure that our team goes back and we go make as many as we can this quarter. And I love that. And it's
Huge.
so true.
It's so beneficial.
I follow like Daniel Fazio, the cold email wizard. I don't know if you know about, the Twitter underworld of people sending mass cold email. But one of the things that they teach in their entire programming is exactly like for the first couple of years you're not building a business per se, you're building a case study engine. Like that is like literally like the compound way to go. And I think it's true for any B2B business, whether it's software or just standard agency stuff. One of the okay,
I think
so
to win, you need to always win. You always need to win the awareness game.
yeah.
Whether you're a SaaS business like Instant, or you're an e-commerce brand, you win by winning at awareness. If people know about you, um, you win. You have to strangle. I always say to the team, you need to figure out a way to strangle your competitor's voice in market, and be the company that brands are just always thinking about, or people are always thinking about.
So as you continue to like grow, that gets harder and harder to do. Like to find the net new voices to reach them. One of the things that you mentioned, before we started recording was like, in certain markets, you're getting close to, or you've saturated like the low hanging fruit, the easy win, the top 3% of buyers that are problem aware, solution aware, ready to buy your thing right now. So what do you do to go like, and to your point, this is a universal truth. This is probably functional for both SaaS and ecom. How do you like actually continue to win that awareness game as that gets harder and you're already eating up more and more of that market share?
I think that like new markets are just a new opportunity to explode again. I think that it's so hard. It's such a long game to get to exhaust market share in say a market like the US, for example. That you just shouldn't even worry about it. Whereas here in Australia, it can be hard to win at awareness, but if you have a great product with great customers, great case studies, and an incredible um, uh, growth machine, you can win very very quickly. And we continue to grow by over $1 million of new revenue a month here in Australia. But two, we provide such significant value to so many e-commerce brands here that they just speak about it all the time amongst each other. If you can win the game of word of mouth, you win completely. But in terms of thinking about the business as a whole, I mean, we'll continue to double down here in Australia and drive significant volumes of revenue for so many e-commerce brands here in Australia that maybe don't even exist today, but they will soon, and we'll work with them. Um, and two, we'll start to expand into new regions as well. There's like the selfish side where we need to grow as a company, and our revenue. But then on the flip side of that, we just want to work with as many brands as possible to grow their business, in like a turnkey solution way. And I think it's just so fulfilling when you catch up with customers and maybe they're a husband and wife kind of team, and you've added $100,000 in revenue to their business. Like that's just so exciting, and still having the opportunity to do that globally, I think is something that just like drives us every day.
How close are you in, July of 2025 to those stories? So for me, like when I was doing demos every day at Replo and, showing people tools and then kind of like seeing through when they got their first page up and all that sort of thing, it's really close. Now it doesn't, it still happens, but it's, a few layers of separation. I'm kind of curious to know like how often you get to kind of be involved in those like, holy cow, you changed my life conversations.
Yeah, we try and keep the team pretty across it, I would say. Even like one of our product managers that's building a new product of ours, they caught up with like 35 customers last month, and that's a product manager. One of our OKRs in the company every quarter is for me to catch up with like 50 or 60 of our customers directly, and the customer success team is quoted on that metric, where I want to hear directly from our customers. I want to be speaking to almost 20, 25 of them every single month, which is almost a customer a day, uh, especially a business day. And so, yeah, I would say I keep pretty close to it. It's obviously at the scale we're at now, it's impossible to one, speak to every customer, of course, and two, it's very hard to consistently speak to the same customers all the time. Um, but even things like our all hands every week, we always have three or four customer stories or shout outs. And then the customer success team and our sales team are heavily encouraged to like share good news or success stories just in Slack as well for the team. And so just being able to stay across that is awesome. And then even something I recently implemented this year was like a weekly leadership memo, which the team leads across the business kind of fill out like good news, wins, blockers, bad news, and how they're progressing on their targets. And one of the sections in our customer success update each week is from both Australia and the US. Is just some good news stories of our customers. And then also some feedback as well, what we could do better or what didn't go to plan or etc. So yeah, I would say I'd stay pretty close to it.
That's awesome. And I do think that that makes or breaks a business, being able to like not only staying close to customers in general, but especially the wins. I think it motivates everybody. Um, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk less about necessarily company building in the sense of like for the SaaS, but I really want to get to the heart of how e-commerce brand operators, the marketing managers, right, like that you want to reach, that you want to talk to, how they're actually like extracting value from your product. Like, what's the play here? Like, why are they coming to you now? Why should more people come to you now?
Yeah, I would say for Instant, we want to basically the simplest way to describe it now is we want to be a marketing manager's best friend. I think today they have huge problems with retention marketing and losing an incredible volume of shoppers who land on their website, and they never have the opportunity to convert them and they never come back to convert. So that's a big problem. And then on the second, the other hand, they have a huge productivity drain with marketing in general. They're sitting down consistently editing the same email templates. They're trying to optimize for 0.5% here and another 1% there. It just doesn't move the needle. And I think that email marketing should be the most lucrative channel in your business as an e-commerce brand. It should also be the most. It should also have the best ROI because it's relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things compared to most other channels. So for Instant, you can kind of look at us in two different ways. We with Instant Audiences, we help you identify the visitors that are landing on your website and allow you to trigger more email campaigns that bring these shoppers back to convert. So ordinarily, out of 100 people that land on your website, you probably know who two of them are, and you're able to email just two of those shoppers. For Instant, we generally increase your identification rate of your website up to like 40 or 50%. And so now you can email out of those same 100 shoppers that are landing on your website, you're not able to email two of them, you're able to email like 40 or 50 of them. And it's just simple maths that by emailing more of these shoppers, more of them are then getting emails, more of them are clicking on those emails, more of them are coming back, and more of them are purchasing. And you know, most brands will, every brand sees at least 4 to 8 times ROI with instant. We have some brands seeing like 50, 60 times ROI, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a matter of days. And then we go further than that. And one of our other products is called Instant AI. And basically what Instant AI does is completely change the game of email marketing for a brand. We don't just retarget these shoppers, but we also start crafting the best converting emails and the designs of these emails for you as a brand as well. So you no longer need to sit down in Klaviyo and design all your email templates, and you launch your Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaign, and you got to go through and edit it all again. We just now do it automatically with Instant AI, and every single. I think the biggest thing is, and the biggest thing that merchants get excited about is every single shopper gets a different email. There's no more like, hey, I saw you abandon your cart. Come back, here's 10% off. Like, it'll actually be these emails start to become very, very specific based on the product you viewed, the time of day, who you are as a shopper, a unique discount code based on whether are you more receptive to free shipping or a 10% discount, etc. Every single shopper receives a different email. So instant audiences helps you bring your lost shoppers back to convert, and Instant AI crafts the best email campaigns and flows to convert those shoppers.
And a thing that I really fixate on is time to value. Like how much time, energy, effort, and money, like maybe even as a vector, like to measure, does it actually take for someone to get value out of this? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Like almost immediately. Generally I mean, we've had some brands go live in minutes. Really, like all you have to do is go through our onboarding flow, install a pixel on your website, click start with instant, and basically you're done. Like it's as simple as that. And maybe it sounds simpler than, I'm really trying to rack my brain and go like, how do I describe this in a way that sounds somewhat intellectual in the way that the onboarding experience works, but it really is just that simple. Most brands will always go live from first conversation with us to live in around 2.5 days. And that includes everything. But the actual setup part of that is maybe like 20, 30 minutes max.
I think it's probably better that you don't make it sound intellectual. Like this is like something SaaS people probably more than ecom people I think get wrong. Is like it shouldn't be complicated.
No, you should just be able to land on the website, have a demo or not have a demo.
Yep.
You choose. Either way, you're able to be set up in 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to do. I know it's for a lot of folks it's hard. It's hard for us to be able to get to that time to value, but it's worth doing. Okay, so you've done this. You've got the ROI. I'm really curious to know, like, are there like best practices? And I'm familiar with the space a bit, but I'm kind of curious to know from your perspective and from all the wins that you've seen, like, what's like the most guaranteed way? Like, if a brand's coming to you and they're like, hey, I want to try this out. What's like the boom? Here we go. This is how we do it. Kind of tactics you give to them.
Well, generally a brand will, I would say that there's not, that's a big part of our speed to value. And this is a very common question I have or I get, I should say, is like, how do we set this up? What are the best practices? How do we get the results that other brands are seeing? And the best thing about Instant is that it's all basically, or what we try to do is that it's all just baked into the product. Like we automatically craft the best emails. We automatically craft the best flows to convert your shoppers. We trigger emails at the right time to convert your shoppers. So we leave a lot. We take out a lot of the manual work and make sure that you just see results. And so that means that you don't need templates and guides and, educational courses and watch a million videos. And, it's almost like going to college to figure out how to use a product. Like it just does it itself. Um, Majority of brands we work with will generally be on Shopify. They'll most of the time they'll be using Klaviyo. We can integrate with both of those, and we generally or just always start there, and it's simple.
And but being on Shopify is not a requirement. Is that correct?
Of course,
Okay,
yes, you can be on any platform.
nice. One of the things I really like that you've said before is like you can essentially identify someone. You can remember who someone is forever. And this is something that I saw in our call notes or our prep notes, but it's like, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. But the state of like all the iOS changes that have happened, all the privacy stuff, like the quality or the efficacy of the Facebook pixel, just to start there, is that like after what, like this is like 7 days, if that, like you really like that the pixel itself isn't going to know.
Mm.
And so you're able to kind of bridge that. You're able to like kind of circumvent a lot of this stuff and kind of fix that gap. Is that an accurate framing?
Yeah, I would say that the simplest way to put it in plain English is like these browsers like Chrome, Safari, etc. have short-term memory loss. They forget who you are after max 7 days, but in most cases it's like 24 or 48 hours, to be honest.
Okay.
Um, and so you've filled out your email address, or you subscribed to a newsletter, or you've completed checkout, and and then you're just forgotten.
Hmm.
I think there's some perfect companies out there though that have absolutely cracked circumnavigating these problems. Like ShopPay is a perfect example where every time you go on a Shopify website, they know who you are and you're already logged into ShopPay to be able to complete your purchase straight away. And that technology has enabled checkout conversions to skyrocket in so many occasions. And so we're bringing that same technology now into the marketing world to help a marketer unlock who their shoppers are every time they come back to their website. And in many occasions, these shoppers have opted in. They've given you their email address before, they've completed purchase, they're a loyal shopper, they've purchased so many times, and you just forget about them every single time they come back. But yeah, I mean, there's been so many changes since Facebook, but particularly the cookie apocalypse with Google, etc. And so now you need to be a bit more sophisticated in the way that you identify these shoppers that are landing on your website. Because if you're not, I mean, to be completely honest, you're just wasting so much money. It's not even a matter of whether you should do it or not. It's something that used to exist and now it doesn't, and you've just let it slip to the wayside. And now you're just actually losing money, particularly for the shoppers who are most likely to convert, which are the ones that are loyal and repeating.
It's one thing, and just from having other conversations with some other folks in space, just that I've always wanted to kind of clarify for the audience's mind is that this stuff is real, and everything that we've discussed thus far, it's very easy and very normal for someone to say, "This sounds really, really great." It sounds so great, in fact, that it sounds too good to be true. And I'm kind of
Mm.
curious to know what you typically like tell people to do when they say, "Hey, I don't know what kind of shenanigans you're doing, but this seems a little well like something feels off here." What do you typically say in that instance?
Most companies, I would say, get pretty nervous when it comes to people like pushing back on their products. Whereas for us, we've always just been like, all right, we'll just give it a go for yourself. It's so easy to go live, and two, the speed to value is so quick. So you'll see very very quickly whether you're seeing results or not. I think the second thing is for larger brands or particularly enterprise brands, we always offer an A/B test where like we will identify 100% of the people that are visiting your website, or as many people as we can, and we will send an email to the cohort A of those people that are visiting your website, and we will not send an email to cohort B. and we will see what shoppers come back to convert, and that always plays in our favor. And then the third thing is just looking at case studies on our website, but whether it's instant or not, like any identity resolution website, and seeing that they actually work with some prominent brands. Those prominent brands have stuck around and seen great results. And it's not vanity metrics like, we've increased email sending. No. Like, it's important to increase email sending, sure, but you actually need those emails to convert, and not land in spam and actually increase the merchant's revenue. The case study should be wrapped around revenue and conversion. And then I think the fourth thing is making sure, and something that making sure that we always play nice. Like, we're a data company in some ways, and it's very important that as a brand, but also in our case, that we only ever retarget or bring your opted-in shoppers back to convert. We don't go and buy data. We don't use data in dodgy ways. We don't help you retarget people who shouldn't be retargeted. We only ever retarget opted-in shoppers who expect to receive an email from you, which means that your emails are less likely to land in spam, more shoppers are going to convert, and it's actually turns out being a net positive for your business and your revenue. So I think those four things are very top of mind for us.
What scares you? What keeps you up at night about maybe this industry?
Good question. Nothing in terms of our products. I would say, on our side of things, we just see a huge opportunity in being able to completely change the game of retention marketing. It's a matter of time of just how quickly we can move to be a all-in-one retention marketing platform for e-commerce brands. And I'm just always thinking, how do we get in front of the next brand? How do we get in front of the next brand? When brands adopt Instant and see the results, they become so excited. They start mentioning it to their friends. But you just got to get it in front of more people. And that's always the biggest challenge today, I think.
I really loved the framing that you had about, like, essentially strangling your competitors in the market. I hope I said that right. Um, I I would love to hear your take. I mean, you've got experience running an e-commerce brand, and the business that you're now run was born out of that. What what are some, like, I don't know if it's growth hacks. I don't know if it's like some ideas that have been percolating that you've been wanting to test, but you haven't had a chance to. Like, do you have any, like, interesting things that people should try, independent of, like, obviously, like, signing up for your product, um, that you would want to, like, make a recommendation to?
Um, I would say everything should always be looked at in the way of a funnel. Everything starts at the top of the funnel, someone landing on your website, all the way through to bottom of the funnel is someone converting. And you need to solve each part of that funnel in order, and not all at the same time. You need to just work on one part of the funnel at a time. And I think that when it comes to, maybe I'll talk about the retention marketing or marketing side of that funnel. I think that, above that is the marketing funnel. How are you bringing these people to your website? Meta, Google, influencers, whatever. But once they've landed on your website, what are you doing to actually convert them? And so I think at the top of the funnel, email marketing or retention marketing should be at least 20% of your business, if not 25 to 30%. And if it's not, you're failing. And so you need to unlock a huge channel of growth by identifying these shoppers who are landing on your website top of funnel. Then in the middle of the funnel, you need to actually optimize your emails and create the best world-class emails that bring these shoppers back to convert. And then at the bottom of the funnel, you need to figure out, these are kind of like the growth hacks. You need to figure out things like predictive opt-in. So rather than just displaying a pop-up on the website as soon as the shopper lands on the website, start to learn the behaviors about your shoppers and display a pop-up for them to get 10% off and fill out their email address
Hmm.
when they're most likely to convert. Um, and doing stuff like that, one, it increases conversion because the customer is now really excited. But two, you're also increasing the amount of emails you capture, which means three, when this shopper comes back the second time and third time to your website, you're now able to retarget them like you wouldn't have before. And so that's just one example where, audiences helps you with your top of funnel, identifying these shoppers. Instant AI helps you build the best converting emails to actually convert these shoppers. And then we have so many features like predictive opt-in that helps you capture more email addresses and, as a result, increase identification as well. So, I mean, I would just, but whether I've used Instant as the example there, but I think anywhere as an e-commerce brand, I would just break everything down into a three-step funnel and figure out each stage at a time.
Would you, if you were to start like the pet company that you had during COVID today, um, how much faster do you think you would grow compared to what you were growing during COVID, knowing that the dynamics of the marketplace are very different than they were in COVID?
Um, Good question. I mean, I think that today it was a drop shipping store, which doesn't really excite me. I think again, as a brand, you need to win the awareness game, and you're not really incentivized to win the awareness game if you're drop shipping, or at least I think in my case, I would want to own my product, own my brand, etc. And the best brands are winning the awareness game. So, I mean, if I was committed to winning the awareness game like we have with Instant now, and so many of the top brands have or are doing, yeah, I think you can grow very, very quickly. You just got to balance the budget, I guess.
Yeah, that is it. The numbers have to pencil out. One thing that kind of came up while you were talking about the about this was you said, as a lot of people did during COVID, getting pets right at the start. I got my first cat the day the lockdown started. They said you're going to have to be inside your house
Mm.
for 2 weeks. I said, let me get a cat first. And so I'm willing to bet that um, maybe not yours, but I definitely bought a lot of cat stuff then. So it was a prime in your market back in the day. It's just a random funny
Just
tidbit to
good,
throw in there.
good
Yeah, it was great
timing.
timing. It was great timing. I mean, it's do you see, like, I mean, you have data on so many different brands now. Do you see like certain pockets or certain types of businesses that are like really ripping? Are they particular verticals you're like, man, I wish I ran a brand in that space outside of obviously running Instant?
I mean, there's so many, and there's so many niche types of businesses that grow incredibly quickly. Like we have, for example, like one of our biggest customers, they're called Nike, and they sell hammocks, and they're very under the radar. Such good founders. They started it out of their shed on their farm property, and they grow incredibly quickly today. But I think the businesses that continue to grow at just ultra scale, again, if they win at awareness, is just fast fashion. I mean, fast fashion,
Mm,
female fashion brands, they just continue to grow so quickly. But even outside of fast fashion and just women's fashion in general, um, yeah, I mean, they're just like absolutely soar. I feel like they either massively fail or they massively succeed. There's really kind of no middle class when it comes to female fashion brands. I think.
it's a very sink or swim industry. Like, I mean, I think, you know, my fiance buys from Fashion Nova quite often. Actually, much of my clothing comes from Fashion Nova as well. And I think of them as like, someone who's obviously crushed it. And then I've seen the graveyard. There's so many brands that have just started and tried, like, they, for whatever way to make it, they just weren't able to do. That's actually it's pretty funny you bring that
I think
up.
the biggest industry or biggest vertical that so many brands seem to either really succeed at or like grossly fail seems to be women's swimwear. Actually,
Yeah,
seems to be so many brands in that vertical that they kick off like a rocket and then
yeah,
they end up just they end up non-existent in a year or two's time, which is really
yeah.
random. Like that's a perfect example of a very particular niche.
That was my
Yeah,
first drop shipping store,
but
actually. I had I dropship bikinis from China to the United States. It was, I mean, it taught me how to like run Facebook ads and build Shopify stores, but that's where it all began for me. That's
Nice.
pretty
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And if you can make it work, it's, huge, just like any brand.
Yeah. We're coming up on time, but before we go, I want to ask a couple or just some broad questions. You're based in Australia. Most of your team is currently in Australia. Like your product and eng team, for example, you've got some GTM function on both, United States, New York City, and Australia. I'm kind of curious to know how different the markets actually are. Obviously, there's a scale component. Um, the United States market's simply larger than the Australian market, but I'm kind of curious to know from like maybe buying dynamics and just like any other type of interesting behaviors that make each of these markets unique.
I would spend majority of my time in New York now. As I said before, I try and chase the sun, although it hasn't really worked out this year.
Yeah.
Um, but the US brands are very receptive to new technology. I think that we love working with US brands because they, unlike the rest of the world, they seem like they're obviously very entrepreneurial. It's not just a moneymaker for them. They're very passionate about their business. They make decisions very, very quickly. I think that leaders in the US empower their people to make decisions very quickly. E.g., the CEO has full faith in the head of e-commerce to try new things to grow the business. And I think that they're willing to spend money to make money. So many US brands. I think the rest of the world is a little more cautious, a little more takes their time, long decision making processes, and we eventually get there, and we still have very short sales cycles with so many brands, and they adopt the product very very quickly. But US brands just have the mindset of just, all right, let's try it. If you're so confident about your own product, let's try it. And I think we really love that because we're so confident in our results that brands never leave and they become very excited as well. But with brands having that mindset from the start, it makes our job a lot more exciting as well by just being able to show off our products and the results they drive rather than just speak about them. But in the grand scheme of things, I think both markets are very, very similar. They, yeah, I mean, very, very, very similar, for sure.
Are you glad that you started in Australia versus the United States? Do you have any sort of like emotional attachment to like that path, or is it like the results would have been the same either way?
I think our results would have been very similar. I mean, as a startup, in our case, you can only focus on so many things at a time. And I'm also a strong believer of things like in person, whether that's in
Hmm.
person with your customers, at events, and, office culture. And so we really just prioritized that initially here in Australia. Through, it just kind of naturally happened. But we've been in the US for quite some time now. The US is our fastest growing market, and it has been for around 3 quarters now. And now it grows faster than Australia. So we're very focused on the US. Sure, we still remain very focused on Australia, but we now have the permission, being a much larger company with so many more customers, resourcing, etc., to be able to focus on both regions. And we definitely skew our effort when it comes to customer success and working with customers and growth and excitement towards the
Yeah,
US. It's
yeah.
it's a much larger market that we're excited about.
It's really cool to hear. I that was probably one of the bigger things I wanted to kind of pull out from this conversation with you, and I'm glad we had a chance that we had enough time to like talk about it. Liam, before we go, two things I want from you. One, what's the parting thought that you want to leave the audience with? What's like the thing that you really want to crystallize in their minds?
I think if you're, that's it. Yeah. I mean, I think today everyone's talking about AI, and a lot of people are talking about AI like it's still like a hypothetical. It's still an idea. But I think the reality is now that if you're not using it in your business today, you're behind. And so if you're not using AI in your business to grow, you are already behind when it comes to growth. So I would be prioritizing that. And then maybe the second thing is if email marketing isn't, 20 to 30% of your business, you're equally behind as well. So don't forget about your most important channel.
I love it. Okay, and then how can people find you and your company?
You can look us up online. We're instant.one, or just find me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message. It's Liam Millward.
We're going to make sure all of those links are in the show notes. Of course, Liam, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and all the time zone shenanigans we had to get through to get the schedule to talk to me. It's been a pleasure. I hope we get to see each other in person very soon. Thank you for being on the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.